So here, let's get going here. I'll play the current state of the game, and it is we've got all these ones for level 1, and then by the time we go over here to trigger a scene transition, the next scene is supposed to transition on screen, but as you can see, it's not quite working. So we're going to be doing something different, and we're going to be trying to tackle this. I think the first thing I want to do is, instead of worrying about getting the next map, on screen, I'm just going to worry about switching our current map to our next map. And if we can trigger that with our event detection, then we're going to be ready to worry about rendering. So we won't worry about rendering just yet. So I guess what that means is we're going to go, hey, AKA Bob, what's up? You're voting for starting soon screen again. Okay, you know what? I'll look into how to do that. I might need to make another scene in OBS. I can make like a channel overlay that just says, starting soon, give it 5 minutes or so, and then go live. So today we're going to be working on fixing this, right? And I think I know how to tackle it. And we're going to go. We take a look at our scene, which is where we initialize these transitions. I think for right now, if we go to where these shifting transitions are, which are they in our map class? No. Place state. Well, it would help if I know where they were. Let's do a search for shift left. Okay, I'm not finding anything. Okay. Well. I think, why am I so lost in here? I've been digging through the CS50 repo, trying to see how they do their transition, so I think that's what's kind of throwing me off here. But so here's where we've got our event.on, but we're looking for our we're looking for where we declare it, which is it not event.listen, but I don't remember what it is. Dispatch, that's what it is. Event.dispatch. So where do we dispatch? Here. This is in our player class we're doing it. Okay, so since our player controls whether or not we're going to transition screens, we've got our event dispatch in our player class, which makes sense. But for right now, I want to say, and then where are we actually saying what this event does, right? We're actually doing that in our scene, in our begin shifting. So this :begin shifting is the function that we're actually dispatching. So for right now, instead of actually shifting our screen, what I'm going to do is I'm going to initialize our player X and Y to 0. So that we don't crash with a nil indexing error. And I'm going to turn all of our shifting off, basically. So we're going to worry about shifting the camera. All we're trying to do is event dispatch another level. So I guess what we want to do is we also want to comment out the timer tween, and we actually want to just set our next map. We want to set our current map to be our next map. And right now our next map is hard-coded, but what we really have to do is give us the corresponding next map. So if we move right, we're going to be getting the same column on our map, but same row on our map, but one column over. If we go up, we're going to get one row up, but the same column, and vice versa for all the other things. So we're going to be doing, I think all we want to do is say self.current map gets our self.next map. And then what we're doing is we would still be shifting. Okay. But all we're trying to do is render our current map. And we're not going to be shifting. Let's not be shifting here. We'll not be shifting, so we don't have to worry about that. So I'm just trying to get a scene trigger from level 1 to level 2 here. So if let's see. Scene 66. Okay. Yeah. So we want this to also be here. Okay. So this is level 1. Oh, see, look at that. It already switched to a level 2. Why did we do that? How did we switch to a level 2 so fast? It should only switch to level 2 if we go to the right here. Okay. Cool. Why did it switch so fast though? This is good. This is good news that we're getting level 1, and then when we go right, now it's level 2. So that's good. What we do need to do is change our player's X as well to be on the other side of the screen. But you know what? Since that's working, I'm feeling pretty good about it. Let's go ahead and try. Okay, let me pull up. I took some notes. And you know what? I can just do it on stream here and show you. So what we're going to do is we're going to open a new window in our tmux, and we're going to go up into our Zelda repo. We're going to envim into here. And what we're going to do is just take a look at their classes. So they're doing, what is it? They call it room and dungeon. There it is. So what I'll do is I'll just harpoon that, and I'll harpoon this, so we have access to them. So what they do, in our sense, our dungeon is our map class, and our room is our scene. So if we keep that in mind while we kind of look at this, this is an important part here, this adjacent offset X and adjacent offset Y. So this is actually what we are missing, and we omitted this because I didn't see how it actually affected anything, because we don't change it here in this room class. So I just omitted it, but they're actually rendering their room based on this adjacent offset X. They're rendering their current room, right? Or I guess it's every room. Yeah. So they're rendering this based off their adjacent offset X. Now, I didn't include this because I didn't see what it did, but it actually does something in the dungeon. If we look at the adjacent offset X, we actually set the next room's adjacent offset X to become our shift X and Y parameters for our begin shifting function here. So this is important because this is the number that we're tweening the next map. So remember, tweening is just interpolating one value to another. So what they're doing here is saying, hey, you know what? Our next room's adjacent offset X, which is how we're rendering where the room is, gets to be shift X, which gets to be shift X gets initialized at, if we walk off the right, it's shift X is going to be the virtual width. So all the way off, since Love 2D draws things from top left, like quadrant 0, 0, top left, positive is right, positive is down on the different axes. So the adjacent offset X is getting set to be just off screen to the right if we walk off right. And then same thing with the Y's and stuff. So this is what I was missing when I omitted it from ours. I was like, it doesn't do anything, but it does. It does do something on this event shift. So then the next important part is they reset it to 0 because we are rendering the maps at this adjacent offset X and Y. So if we don't reset it to 0, by the time our next map becomes our current map, it's going to render it all weird. So we want to make sure we reset it to 0 as well. But that's the only parts they use this offset X and offset Y is in the begin shifting function, as well as in the, what do you call it? In the dungeon. Also in the dungeon, they do the adjacent offset X and Y. Oh, this is, okay, no, this is in the dungeon because that's where our function is. But then if we go into our room, we also use it. We initialize it as 0 because we're rendering by it. And then here's another interesting thing too. This line is saying, hey, if this tilde equals does not equals. So it's saying if our adjacent offset X is not 0, or our offset Y is not 0, meaning if we're shifting, then go ahead and return. So in the update function, it's going to return. So that has the effect of just not updating anything if we're currently shifting. So it'll still be able to render stuff, but if there's entities in that room that are moving, or our player that's walking, actually our player is separate than the room, but if there's entities in the room or animations there, it'll cease updating those entities. So let's go ahead and try to implement some of that. First of all, we want to give our we want to initialize the adjacent offset X to 0, just like they do it. And they do this here in the init function for their room. So our corresponding one is our scene, because our scene is what's holding the reference to the current map and the next map. So just like their room has it should actually, hold on. You know what, maybe I think their dungeon actually has the reference. Yeah, their dungeon has the reference to the next room and the current room. So maybe our scene is more like the dungeon. And let's just make sure that yes, we have our begin shifting in our scene, just like they have their begin shifting in their dungeon. Okay, I think we're on the right track here. So I guess that means that we want to make sure we give our map, well, let's see, because they have in their room they've got adjacent offset X to be 0. So I guess what that means is when they render their room, which for us is our map, when they render their room, they're rendering it by the adjacent offset X, which is right here, which yeah. So they're rendering their room based on their adjacent offset X. So we need to render our map based on an adjacent offset X. So we'll mimic their code here by giving us a self-adjacent X and Y initialized to 0 upon the map initialization here. So we'll go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and go to our map class. And we'll go to our init, and will give us these two values, self dot x offset, adjacent offset, that's what they call it. So it's called adjacent offset, which that is a good word for it, because it really is just the adjacent offset. We initialize it to 0. Now it's almost always going to be 0. The only time it's not 0 is when we're actively shifting. So what we got to do is set it to 0, but then the important thing is we've got to render it based on this adjacent offset. So our x is going to get our self dot adjacent offset x, and our y is going to get added by our self dot adjacent offset y. Oopsie. Yep. Okay. So now that we've got that going, let's see if any other references to adjacent offset in their main function here. Yeah, there is. In their update function, they don't update anything if their adjacent offset is not 0. So in our map update, we can say, hey, if our self.adjacent offset x does not equal 0, or if our self.y adjacent offset does not equal 0 as well, either or, then we're going to go ahead and return, meaning we don't update. Now, at the moment, we don't have anything in our map update, but I don't think it's a bad thing to kind of keep this in mind, because if we add entities at the map location and we populate them with bad guys and we have those bad guys walk around the screen and everything, we don't want to accidentally be updating this while we're scrolling. So I'm going to just comment that out, but keep it in there. And then let's go ahead and take a look at their dungeon again. So there's only 2 references here, and it's in the begin shifting and the finish shifting functions. So let's go ahead and go into ours, and ours is a scene that we're calling it. Now in our begin shifting, okay, so what we're doing, we're giving our current map to be our next map, which is not right. It's not right, because we don't want this until we're done shifting. So I'm going to just comment this out at the moment and see if we can figure out what to really do here. Because what we need to do, they're setting their next map, or their next room, to be equal to another instantiation, but we need to actually, and when we instantiate this, we've got our next map already. So I'm gonna say that this is just assign correct next map. Right now we have it hard coded because we're just trying to see if this works. So assign next map here. We don't need to worry about this for this test because we already gave ourselves the correct next map for walking right. We only have 2 maps at the moment, so we can only really test that one at the moment. But let's keep going. The next thing they do is go into their next map, which is another map instantiation, and they're going to go into its adjacent offset. And this is what we're missing, is we're not rendering both maps. Well, actually, we'll get to see what we're actually doing when we get to our render function here. But we're going to be giving the shift X and the shift Y to the next map's adjacent offset field. And what that's going to do is give us, that's going to set the next map, X and Y position, to be just off screen, ready to roll in. So as long as we give it the correct shift Y tween, it'll get shifted to where it needs to end up, and it'll start at the correct place. That's what this shift X and Y assignment is. here. Oh, and we need this to be Y. Okay. So the next thing they do is in their finish shifting, they set it back to 0. So we're going to go into our finish shifting, and we're going to go ahead and do something similar where we say, okay, our current room, so our current map dot adjacent offset, and that's because I think this is because we're rendering our current map off screen and we're rendering our next map on screen. So we need to reset our current map once we reassign our current map, because at this point, next map is a value that got, I guess it got tweened to 0, but I guess we have to manually assign it to 0 just to be safe here. So our current map at our adjacent offset Y gets 0. So we stop shifting, we reset our camera, and then we set our current map to be equal to the next map. And then we initialize our next room as nil for the moment. So we're taking the next map, the map that just scrolled on, that becomes the current map by the time we're finished shifting. And then we reset our adjacent offset X and Y so that we're not translating the movement. Now, another thing we need to do that I didn't know was a thing, yesterday I was all confused about the translate function, and translate, love.graphics.translate moves everything on screen, regardless of what class it's in. So there's a way they got around this. If we take a look at the play state in the Zelda repo here, and we go down to the render frame, we can see that they do this. Before they render their dungeon, which in our case would be our map, they do a love.graphics push and a love.graphics pop, which limits all of the translation to within these two things. So we need to do something similar so that we can still see our HUD and our frame rate and our debugging all in the same place without translating it. So if we go into our play state, we'll see how we're rendering things. Now we render a scene view, which is just like their dungeon render. So what we're going to do is a love.graphics.push, which is going to, I don't know the exact what that does, push and pop, but the effect of it is it's only gonna apply the love.translate within these two declarations there. Then so we're gonna render Archivoth separate. We might want to render Archivoth in our scene instead of our playstate. Let's see if they're doing that. In their playstate, they render a dungeon. So if we go into their dungeon, does that mean, and I've got it here, does that mean they're rendering player? Let's see if we render, they just render the room, the current room and the next room. So I don't know where they render their player. If it's not in their playstate. Playstate. They're rendering the HUD, they're rendering the dungeon. I guess I don't know where they're rendering their player. It might be in the room. Yep, it's in the room. So our equivalent of the room is the scene. I don't know if we want to do that. They render their player here in the room. Let me just take a look at ours and see if we render ours in the scene. We just rendered the map. Okay. I don't know the benefits of rendering it elsewhere. I guess it's nice to have the scene have the player, but we're not. We do give the player to the scene, so why don't we render the player in the scene? I guess that makes sense. I guess for right now, I'll keep it how it is, and we can keep that in mind. I can leave a note. I can leave a note that says, should we render player in scene class? Currently in play state. Okay. So we've got to do a couple more things. We've also got to... We should be assigning the next room and everything. We're not doing our tweens at the moment. We're assigning our next map to be nil, and this current map... Okay, we're resetting our adjacent offset X and Y, and then... I guess we need to... I don't know what else we need to do. I guess let's see what happens. How do I do that? How do I switch? Oh God. Okay. I don't know how I switched our tmux locations, but let's go ahead and run our game and see. So we should go to level 2 when we translate this, or when we, and we're not. Let me make sure in our, okay. Let's actually assign this. So we're going to say when we begin shifting, our current map becomes our next map, and that should have the effect of switching us to level 2 by the time we walk to the right. And it doesn't. That's because we're not rendering our next map. In our scene, we are only rendering our current map. So we go ahead and render our next map as well, and then we should be able to see it. Well, now we only render... Oh, shit. Oh, God. Okay. So, okay. Let's turn on our shifting. We'll turn on our shifting boolean, which triggers our shifting, and that will assign our current map. And let's see if that is showing... Okay, well, that... Okay. Still jacked up. Okay. Right now we're rendering our current map and our next map, but we only want to render our next map if we're shifting, and we also... You know what? Let me close this so I can focus on this. Oh no. Okay. Here we go. Okay, so if we're shifting, our next map becomes our current map. We need to render both our next map and our current map based on our adjacent offset X. So I guess in our map, we just make sure we are rendering that based on our own adjacent offset. So that's good. And we initialize that as 0, which is good. And then I guess in our begin shifting, let's go ahead and turn this back on. And this draws it at the camera X. And you know what? I really do still want to just see the next map become... Oh. Anytime it's blank screen. Hey, Fart Knocker, what's up? Anytime it becomes... Our next map adjacent offset gets to be our shift, but that's only upon a begin shifting. That's only upon one of these transitions. So, oh, and you know what? We're messing our player X and Y up here. We only want to assign those if we're shifting. Let's turn on our shifting and see what we've got. Okay, finish shifting, and then do we have to reset our player X and Y? I'm not exactly sure. So this should be, okay, well, that's not right. We'll go, oh God. Okay, we'll go, at least we're not translating our HUD off screen, so that's a good. Okay, I'm pretty sure it's right here. Like we don't want to render both of these maps. We only want to render whichever one we need, so we'll render the current map only if not shifting. So if not self.shifting, then we run or we render our current map. And then if self-shifting, we render our next map and we translate it by the camera X. Now, the camera X and camera Y is the values that we're actually tweening, and they start at Shift X, I believe, and then they turn into, or let's see, we shift our camera X, which would start at whatever we initialize it at, which is 0. So the tween function here would start our camera X at 0, and it would become whatever our Shift X is, which is dependent on which transition we're going for, and it would tween those values over the course of 1 second. So let's see, we've got level 1 rendering, so let's see if level 2 comes on screen here. Not quite. Not quite. 82 crashed on current map. So 82 here. So now our current map should be a map object. So if we go to current map, we can see that it is in fact a map object, but a map object doesn't actually have an adjacent offset X and Y. It does actually. So we did add that. So I don't know why it's crashing there then. Because we're rendering it at that adjacent offset. Okay. So let's turn this on just in case that helps. That wouldn't help because there's nothing in this function, so that wouldn't do anything. But let's go to our scene and okay. The other thing is we're setting our event listening to be determined on our player's X and Y position. So if we're tweening our player's X and Y position incorrectly, we could be triggering other events. So if any of those events are wrong, it could be jacking up all that stuff. So you know what? Let's do the initial plan, which was to turn this off. No tween shifting. We will finish shifting at the end, so that we can reset our adjacent offsets and stuff. I don't get why we crashed here indexing this. Let me just see. Attempt to index next map a nil value. Scene 37. We go to 37. Right here, our next map didn't have a value. Now we didn't assign our next map here just yet, but we've got our next map right here. So I don't get why it doesn't have access to that. Let's just manually do that and see if we, okay, well, that Why would that make a difference? Why would our begin shifting not have access to our self.map in our scene? Self.nextMap gets the map, but if we turn this off, we crash because it doesn't know what next map is. I don't know why. It's the same line of code and we init with it. So next map gets nil upon finish shifting. Next map gets, let's make sure we don't next map nil on something incorrect. See, it would make sense if it crashes after we finish shifting, but I don't know. Let's turn this off for now and see. Okay, so that next map.nil. Okay, so I think what happened there is it was detecting a left edge collision twice, which once I became yes, man, Cuphead is where it's at. So in Cuphead, there is an expert mode, and you unlock it by beating the game on normal, and then you can play real Cuphead. I love Cuphead. Okay, so this is what was crashing us because we were not assigning our next map. So let's turn that off for now. We need it on. But that means we can keep this off and we cannot crash. So we are no longer shifting. So what that means is if we interact with any of our boundaries, we should just shift to our next map, which we do. So that's good. And then whenever we stand here, we're actually calling that begin shifting function. But since we're not shifting anything, all it's doing is remaining our next map at this level 2. So that's working and I'm happy with that, but we need it to render on screen. So what I'm going to do is just turn this back on, manually assign map 1, 2 there. And I'm going to manually assign map 1, 2 here as well, just so we don't crash. And this is in all caps. There's a whole article about this game reviewer who was playing Cuphead and he couldn't beat the tutorial. So he wrote like a review about how hard the game was and he couldn't get past the tutorial. But the tutorial isn't the hard part, but that's a story that's out there. Okay. So we need to prevent detection for these other event listens. If we're currently shifting, we don't want to detect another edge change, right? But also we might want to do it. Right now we're very lenient with how we detect it, and it's just if our X position is left then the 3 pixel border or whatever we gave it, then go ahead and say we initialize that. But I think fixing it during our shifting will help us a long way. So we don't want to be calling these event ons unless we are not currently shifting. Well, okay, so this is just the function. So I guess, where would we do this? We would do it on the event dispatch. So let's go find our dispatches. And they're in our class, our player class. Now, we only want to event dispatch if we're not shifting and if our scene is not shifting. But the thing is, our player class doesn't have access to our scene, I don't believe. So our dot shifting is part of our scene, but our scene is actually instantiated in our play state. So if we go look at our play state and find our scene view object, which is our scene, we can, this is the thing we need to modify the dot of to prevent a dispatch while we're shifting. So where is our dispatches again? No, that's the only one I shouldn't have pressed. Dispatch. And we go into here. And we're gonna go, what if we say, if not scene view dot shifting, then go ahead and check for those dispatches. So what that'll do is prevent any double dispatch deployment if our scene shifting hasn't finished. So the other thing I'm gonna do is just reset. I wanna reset our player's X position so that we don't accidentally dispatch another thing as well, just because I'm trying to test this stuff and make sure it's working. So let's go into our scene, and we're gonna be in our begin shifting. Let's just go ahead and say we're gonna manually move our player's X. So self.player.x is gonna get, let's just say 25, and same with our Y. Now we can do this self.player.x because we pass in as a parameter a player that we give ourself. So our self.player has the X of Kavoth. So we should be able to do this. So anytime we begin shifting, our Kavoth should go to 25-25, which is like top left-ish quadrant, but not quite triggering any scene transition. And then we should be switching the map. Now, what we can do is we can do a little trick here to switch between two different maps. We've got map 1 and 1, and we got map 1 and 2, and we want to say next map gets map 1. I want to say we can do this and say we have to do, okay, what we can do, shit. I'm trying to do a ternary operator here. So the first part of that is checking for equality and saying like, hey, are we equal to map 1, 1? And if we are, then we want to set it to a map instantiation of 1, 2. I don't know if this will work. Or if not, map 1, 1. Do we have to? I'm wanting to say that might work, but I don't know. That's basically all that's saying is if we're currently map 1, 1, go to map 2. If we are not map 1, 1, then we're, go to map 1, 1. Or become map 1, 1. Okay, that might work. Because I'm trying to switch it. I'm trying to switch it every time we interact with it. So I'm trying to say, why is this broken? Our functions are not working. It's probably because we messed up this ternary operator. Let me look up the ternary operator real quick. You don't do the equals equals, you just do an equals. So you test, or, oh wait, no, that's the question. Okay. You know what? We do this already in our main to toggle our mouse render. Do we not? No, we don't. Okay, well, let's set our next map to 1, 1. No, we'll set it to 1, 2, and then we'll once we finish shifting, let's just shift it to 1, 1. So only during the shift. Why is our function not rendering here? Our LSP is saying that we've got this wrong, and it's because there's an if there. Maybe. Our colors are still messed up, but looks like we're working. So this should be all caps. Now 38, we're crashing right here. If next map gets assigned, our map 1, 2. Okay, so we should. 98 on scene is crashing. 98 is going on. 98 here. We're not shifting. Render our current map. Oi, oi, oi. Let's just change this to nil so that, because we are shifting our player's X, so we shouldn't detect another one, so we shouldn't crash right away. And we're crashing at 98 still. And it's because our current map. So what's wrong with our next map instantiation that we're not? Oh, it's not a map object. Okay, my bad. Yeah, we gotta change this. We gotta change to a map instantiation at 1, 2. Okay. Okay. So what I was wanting to do, see, like, we know it triggers because we move our X and Y to 25. So that's good. So we are detecting these things still. So now we just need to make sure we get the proper map index to render for whatever appropriate transition we're going for. So it's only ever going to be level 2 from here on out at the moment, but this allows us to know that I think the secret is to shift this X and Y so we don't accidentally trigger another shifting. So what we can do is go turn on our tweening now and see how that is messing up. Let's give ourselves a 3-second tween and we'll see. So level 1, and we're gonna initialize it. That begin shifting. We shifted our map. Okay, well, we totally shifted our map the wrong way. Oh, we didn't shift our map at all, actually. We shifted only our player the wrong way. And then we crashed. So we do set the correct map, but our player is just jacked up. If our player is so jacked up, does that mean let's try to render our player here in our scene and see. That's the only thing I could think of right now. Right now we're rendering it in our play state. So we'll just take our both and we'll put it in our scene so that it actually gets hit by that same translate, because Kaboth actually wasn't being translated, the map was, I'm pretty sure. So what we'll do is we'll render, I guess it doesn't really matter. We'll render the scene first, then we'll render us on top of it, and then we'll see what we look like. Still going the wrong way, and then we still freaking crash. Okay. Let me see. And we can still... Oh, God. So 86, we crash in our scene. And that is right here. Why would we crash there? Our current map is getting our next map. Now, what if we instead say, okay, when we're done shifting, go back to map 1. Okay, we're gonna go there. Okay, well, we're constantly triggering, well, oh my God. What do we want to do? What do we want to do? I'm gonna see where they render their character again. So what we're gonna do is split our window. We're gonna go back into our Zelda repo, and we're gonna go check in on our dungeon class, which I believe is where it is. No, they don't draw the character here. They draw their character in the room. So our room equivalent is our... So they draw... Where do they... Okay, they do render it here. Okay. Okay. So let's try to do this. Let's try to mimic this, and we'll render our player in the map. Because, and that actually makes sense, because when we translate our map, we want our character to be kind of tethered to it. So what we'll do is we'll say Kavoth render after we render our map. Now we should have the same transition as our map. Well, yeah, let's make sure we're not rendering our Kavoth in our scene anymore. And we'll just leave a little note, say moved to map class, just in case. And we'll see what that does for us. Okay. See, I don't get why it keeps triggering. It keeps triggering a translate, which I'm not sure why, and we're not even updating our map anymore. So let's go. This is I feel like this is one of the hardest parts of my game. Getting this working here. Thanks for the first time chat. I don't know what you're asking, but I appreciate you being here. Okay, so when we instantiate our scene, our next map gets 1, 2. Then when we begin shifting, our current map becomes our self map. Our current map becomes our next map. That makes sense. Actually, maybe not. Maybe our current map doesn't change until we're done shifting. So, do we change our current map upon finishing shifting? Let me take a look at what they do in their dungeon here. And they have a current room and a next room, and then they assign their next room right away. And we do it a little differently. Let's explicitly do it. Well, yeah, they don't mess with their current room here in their shifting. So I think that'll help us out. So if we start with our next map being 1, 2, We become shifting. Then our next map, let's see if we can take this out. We have to explicitly say this. Okay, well, actually that's right. That's right. Moving that direction for a left transition is correct. And moving, fuck. We want to move the other direction. God damn it. So we crash on 40, unseen 40 here because our next map offset. Now that must mean our next map is not getting assigned, so we'll make sure we get it assigned. So we are gonna trigger. We should be moving the other way. And then we shouldn't be constantly triggering this. Let's put us even further in the middle just to make sure we're not doing any fuckery like that. And then if this doesn't work, I've got another idea that's a lot more work, but it should fix it. So if we're shifting, we're gonna translate our camera and then render our next map, which should be 1, 2 instead of level 1. We're never seeing our level 2 here. Unless we're messing up our tween values. If we shift, let's see, if we shift right, we're passing in a negative virtual width, which is wrong. Because if our shift X is negative, we're not, yeah, this is wrong. Because our shift X is going to become our adjacent offset X. So we want our next map's X position to now be a positive virtual width if we initialize a right transition. Now, if it's a left transition, we want it to be a negative virtual width. If it's an up transition, we want our offset Y to become a negative virtual height. So we had all these backwards, I think. If it's a down transition, a positive virtual height, because if we walk downwards, the next map Y position needs to be at the very bottom because it needs to scroll back on. So now that we've flipped those, maybe we'll... Okay, we're still constantly transitioning, which I don't get. And we're not rendering our second map. So how come we're not rendering our first map off and our second map on? Now, we do... Now, the thing is... Let me see if we just go to our main and before we initialize any... actually in our play state, I'm going to say before we initialize any sort of event listener, what we want to do is just, oopsie. We want to just say love.graphics dot translate is going to be, let's just do 50 and 0 and just see. Okay. So see, this translate should be scrolling. It should be scrolling our current scene off. So in our scene view, when we're translating by our camera X, let's print up our scene's camera X so we can just make sure that this is kind of working. Our camera X should be set based on what shift position we're getting. And actually, okay. This is probably where it all is going wrong then. Where did we just fix those shifting positions? We fixed it in our player class. Oh, and then this is the player X reset once we begin shifting. So this is where we need to change the player's X location to B. So that's where that's all messing up. But then we do it. Why are we doing? After we finish shifting, we're setting our player's X to be modified back to whatever current. Okay. So it's like this is the player's X value while we're shifting, and then this is the player's X value once we're done shifting. Which at the moment is being overwritten, but it could help us. This could help us figure out why we're messing this up. I think we swapped these all around. So if we swap these, let's see. So did I swap it? Oh God. We'll just have to manually check it. Okay, so a negative X is a left transition. So a negative X is a left transition. So if we're walking off to the left, scrolling the left screen onto the right, then we would want to set our player X to be the right side of the screen. That looks right. If it's a right transition, meaning we're moving the right screen to our screen, that means we would want to put our player X on the left side. So it should be not virtual width plus 5, but 5. Whatever this offset is. And we can do it, we can add it a bit more so that it doesn't accidentally trigger another event. And then our player Y greater, or our shift Y greater than 0 would mean that we are a down transition. And if we're a down transition, we're moving the bottom screen up. That means our new position should be the height of the very top of the screen, essentially. So come on, man. Okay, so we're gonna say player Y gets, we want the top of the screen here, so this should be just like 5. Let's put it at 10 so we don't accidentally trigger an event. And then if our shift Y is smaller than 0, meaning it is a up transition, we would need to move our character to become the bottom of the screen, which is going to be our screen height limit minus player height, and then minus our 10 so we don't accidentally trigger a event. So for our other transition here, we're setting it to be the right side of the screen. We want to also minus by 10 so we don't accidentally trigger an event. And let's see. Okay, that's looking... See, why are we still shifting? I don't know why we're still scrolling. Are we not resetting our camera X? We are setting our camera X and camera Y. Let's print up our camera X and camera Y to just see what's happening here. Now, if we go into our scene, we don't want to put it in our scene because our scene is actually shifting. So we want to put it in our play state. We want to put it. We can put it here. We can say that this is our camera X and camera Y. And if this is messed up, that gives us a good clue on what to go hunt for. And it is a scene view, which is a scene object at its camera X field. Now, this might be a problem. We've got a lowercase x and a uppercase X. So that might be what's causing some of this. Do we really have a camera lowercase x? No, we don't. Okay. Our LSP kind of hinted that we did. So, okay. So let's go to our play state. we'll go render this camera X, capital X, and then we'll also render our camera Y at scene view dot camera, capital Y, and we will see it should be 0 almost all the time. So camera X 0 and camera Y 0. It should only become whatever our shift X and shift Y parameters are upon initializing this event transition, and then it tweens back to, okay. So yeah, camera X is just still getting set differently. So we know it's oh, what was that crash? That could help us. We know it has something to do with our shifting function. Now place state 215 crashed. So place state 215. Where, what? We don't even have a place state 215. Did I read it wrong? Player 103. So player 103, our self.y. Okay. I don't know why we crashed there. Let's take a look at our camera X and camera Y and make sure that we're resetting this correctly. Like we should set it to 0 and we shouldn't be shifting anymore. So we initialize them as 0. Oh, well, why did that not have a period? Okay, so we initialize them to 0. We only update them actually, yeah, it's our camera X that we're looking at. Camera X. We reset them to 0. And we do translate by that if we're shifting. And our finish shifting has us stop shifting. Okay, I'm confused why we're doing this. I don't know why it keeps triggering it. Because if our camera X is still updating, that means that we're still tweening. And that means that we don't stop shifting. So let me see. Yeah, and we set ourselves to 50-50. So anytime we go to that same spot, oh God, dude, why is that happening? Once we get this worked out, I'm not saying the rest will be smooth sailing, but this is like so much of the game. Once we get this worked out, we can have potentially 25 screens of game to mess around in. I don't know why I'm having so much trouble with this. Like, we're setting our... Let me try setting it to map 1, 2 and see. So upon finishing shifting, we should go to map 2. Well, that happens right away. Oh my God. Why did that happen right away? I guess we run. Oh, well, nope. I don't know why. Because this parentheses here should make it so that we finish the tween function before we become self-finish shifting. So let's see if we shift our map before that. And we do. We shift our map right away. So that means right here, we shift our map incorrectly. Yeah, so we don't need our next map to be set there. We need it to be set upon finishing shifting. So if we go here, we should... Damn it, god damn, why? Why is it getting called there? Ay, 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 ay. Okay. Okay. Let's take a look at what the Zelda repo does. I watched the tutorial on this today, and they kind of just skimmed over this part. They're like, so this is all it is, and then it's just those 4 lines of code for the adjacent offset X, and they're like, yeah, pretty easy. And then, you know, I mean, I am doing a different... I don't generate rooms like they do. It is different, but I'm having a lot more problems than they were having with it. So I guess it's in their dungeon. Yeah, so they take a self room and they assign it to a random generated room. So we're not trying to do that. We're trying to have the next map already, which in our instance, see, how? Okay, so we're gonna say our next map is 1, 2, but we only render it based on this adjacent offset X. Okay, so when we call begin shifting, let's say we trigger a right transition. We're passing in a positive virtual width to our adjacent offset X. So if we take a look at our map function, we're rendering it at an adjacent offset X plus whatever every single tile is. So we shouldn't have the map on screen all at once like we are. We should see it scroll on. See how it changes all at once. And then we don't stop shifting. So what is going on here? Let's keep looking through theirs. They're saying... so they tween their player between the shift X, and let's see if... So they... Okay. Yeah, so they're shifting like that, and we are shifting. If we walk down, our Archibald should go up, which it does. Now we do reset its position so we don't accidentally trigger a transition, but we're just crashing all over the place. Now, when they finish shifting, they do a couple things. Let's see. I don't get how I keep doing that. I keep swapping the sides on accident. I don't know how to fix that, but this is actually driving me crazy. I gotta get it back. Control B semicolon toggles between 2 panes. No. How do you switch it though? How do you swap? I keep doing it accidentally. It's driving me crazy. because I keep accidentally switching it. What the? I'm okay. That's enough internet for today. Okay, let's just figure out. Okay, so that's easy. Semicolon. And then I've got these ones, and then how do I swap? I don't know how I'm doing that. Let's look at the finish shifting function that they do, right? This is ours. And they do it. They reset their camera X, they reset their camera Y, they stop becoming shifting. They assign their current room to be whatever next room is. They nullify that, the next room. And then they set the current, they reset the current room's adjacent offset. So that's what we're doing. Let's take a look at their translate function. And what we're doing is, if we're not shifting, render the current map. They do it if they are shifting first. Then they render. Okay, so let's see. They have it so that if they are shifting, they translate the camera before they render. Actually, no, they don't do this. They don't do what we do. We render it here. They render it down here. They're saying, okay, just translate if we're shifting. Don't render the next room, just translate. Then if, dude, I just did it again. I just swapped it. How did I swap it? I don't know how I keep doing that on accident. I don't know how I keep doing that, but okay, so if we're shifting, go ahead and they're actually doing this by a negative value. So let's try to do the same thing they do with a translate negative math.floor. So they're going to floor it, and then they do a negative value for the camera X, because a positive camera X will shift it to the right instead of the left. Let's go here, and we'll do the same negative math.floor for our camera Y. Now, the next thing they do is say, okay, well, now we're just going to render our current room. So let's do that. Say, hey, we render our current room no matter what, whether or not we're shifting. And then what they do is say, if there is a next room, then go ahead and render that. So, and we might be messing up here because we're not ever getting a nil room here. And we have, it's not room, it's map on ours. So if our next map is not nil, go ahead and render it. So let's see. See, we're rendering our level 2 already. And we're not rendering our level 1. So I think that's because our next map is overriding it. Yeah. So if we actually changed it to nil like we were supposed to, that is now shifting the current map. Okay, so this is looking right. We just need to set, and we are setting our next map to nil here. But it should be nil here too. So if it's nil here, we should be able to turn that back on, and we are explicitly saying our next map gets 1, 2 by the time we begin a transition. Okay, so this should be it. Map 1. Now if we walk to the right, it should become map 2, and we'll translate. Okay, so now let's let's turn off our player X position. Gosh, and we have to figure out why. I think we're still translating like this because we're not resetting our player X correctly upon the finishing of the transition. So if we do that, we should be okay. So let's take out where we're moving our player. So I'm going to leave these as comments just in case we want to turn it back on. But what we're going to do is go to where we assign our player location. Okay, so this is what I think this is what is triggering our continuous transitions. So for right now, I'm just gonna not actually, yeah. So what I'm gonna do to test this is say after we're done transitioning, we're just gonna put our player at 50-50 here. So we should be able to not continue transitioning. So we should switch the map. It should render on though. And then we shouldn't continue to transition. Motherfucker, why? I saw it for one frame. Yeah, see, I saw it for one frame go to 50-50, but why did it trigger again? I think it has to do with why is right so weird like that? Why is our DX? Oh god. Okay, so we don't get... Why is our DX all jacked, man? We get like a crooked DX. Okay, let's try to get this correct. So let me just copy these so I have something to reference. And we'll do them in order. So this will be our shift left. This will be a shift right. And then negative is up. So smaller than 0, and then a bigger than 0 is a down transition. Okay, now let's get the and we're doing player X, but I don't think we're actually doing anything with, well, let's see. No, we're tweening our player's current X with this player X variable. So what we're going to do is say we're going to just set that tween value to be the appropriate value. So this is where our player needs to end up at the end of the tween. So if we are a left transition, our player needs to end at the end of the screen. Yeah. End of the screen, and then we're minusing 10 so we don't accidentally trigger another transition. If our shift X is positive, it's a right transition. Let's just test this right transition. So we give it a positive, which means it's a shift right, which means we need to end up at like 5 or whatever past our threshold for detecting a left scene transition. So we got the new map. We're shifting our character. What is happening there? I'm confused if we're shifting. I mean, we must be shifting because it's doing all that garbage, but why is it? See, I guess I'm confused. We do this twice. Like we do a shift X like for like a reset, and we're not doing that here. Or we're setting it to 50 here instead. So anytime it goes to 50, it's done finishing shifting. So why that one's jacked? but okay. Okay, let's get us the correct values here as well. So, oh, and you know what? We didn't want all of that code in here, so that might be also messing it up. I just had that as a template to check, because what the arguments we pass in here is what we're trying to modify here. So I don't know that. I guess I can learn that a left transition would be -0, right transitions greater than 0. That makes sense. And then a shift Y would be negative if it's an up. Okay, so let's take these out. Okay, so if it's a left transition, we're going to set our player's X to become 5, right there. If it's a right transition, we're going to set our player's X to become equal to, actually, no. Left transition means we need virtual width minus whatever that buffer is. If it's a right transition, we want to set it to just whatever our buffer is. If it is a Y smaller than, so that's an up transition, then we want to set ours to virtual height minus player height minus R5 buffer. And then if it is a up transition, our music stopped. If it's greater than 0, oh, you know what? Hold on. If it's smaller than 0, that's a down transition, right? Smaller than 0, no, it's an up transition. Okay. Okay, that makes sense. And then down transition is +0 or higher than 0. So if it's higher than 0, it's a down transition, which means why am I getting these messed up? This one, okay, so smaller than 0 on the Y is an up transition. That means we need to end up at the bottom of the screen. So that's what this line is. And then top of the screen would just be whatever our buffer is, so we don't accidentally trigger another animation. That was totally wrong. We just changed the wrong one. We had this right. Oh my god. Yeah, we had this right. This is what we needed to change. Jesus, okay. So smaller than 0 is an up transition, so we need to end up at the bottom of the screen. So this minus the buffer, and then if it's greater than 10, that is a down transition, which means we need to end up at the top of the screen, so we'll just give it that, whatever that buffer is. So, oh, but then we're resetting. Let's not reset our player's position, so we can just see if we get stuck in that infinite transition loop. That's driving me crazy. So left transition, okay, we're gonna go there. We shouldn't shift. God. Why are we shifting? We're shifting because our player's X, by the time we're done shifting, is triggering another event. So in our finish shifting, are we changing? Let's just, for shits and giggles, put in our finish shifting function, and actually we do yeah, you know what? Let's turn this off for the moment. That is disgusting. Okay. Let's turn this off. Okay. I'm just trying to stop this perpetual loop. Okay. So as soon as we're done shifting, it sets our position and then we're done. Whoa. Dude, the moonwalk, the moonwalk is always back. That's always a feature. Okay. Okay, I'm about to go crazy here. I think what we want to do... I want to say this is right. And I want to say we can leave this kind of on. The problem is our detection for triggering an event is too vague. So if we look at our play state, we look, actually, no, it's on the dispatch, which is in our player class. So on the event dispatch, come on, man, where is, okay. See, this is the only code that's doing our event dispatch. And it's just too vague. It's saying, you know, if our X is greater than the right side of the screen, go ahead and just dispatch. So once we're shifting it, this X position gets all messed up. But see, we're only dispatching if we're not shifting in the scene view. I thought that would fix this problem. So when we hit this line, we become not shifting. Self-shifting gets false. Well, we literally don't stop. No, yeah, we do. Yeah, we do. Okay. Oi. I don't get... Let's see. Oh my god. That was it. Hey, Kirk Zamkodo. You know, I have done a little bit of Python in Flask. I don't know what Swagger is. I sure don't have it. I can't help you. So I'm sorry, but I wish you best of luck. Did you guys see that? We went from screen 1, we went from level 1 to level 2 right there. Level 1. Level 1 goes off. We scroll off. Oh god, and then we're back. Oh Jesus. If we went down kind of worked. We walk down, we scroll off with the level, and then level 2's there, and our X position looked pretty correct. And then check that out, we scroll off level 2. Oh my god, we're close. We're freaking close. At least on down transition. Right? Oh god, see, why does it get the fucked up DX like that? Oh god. It really is if we miss... Yeah, man, good luck. Good luck. I don't know what Swagger is, but I hope you find some help. I need some help. You don't happen to know how to do this, do you? Okay. I think we're really close. I think, we're really close. The fact that the bottom one worked so well, and now we're rendering the map over the HUD there. But that's close. Shit. Oh god. Okay. God, we're so close. We're so close. Okay. So how come we rendered the scene over the HUD, which we don't want to do. So let's make sure we don't have that set in our play state. We render our scene, then we render our HUD. So let's go ahead and render our scene under our HUD here. Okay, so I think it's really just Kavoth's X positions that are throwing off our render loop, or our transition loop here. So if we go into our scene and we set what do we want to do? We want to go to the finish function, and we just want to overwrite our verbose player to be equal to something that wouldn't trigger another transition, so that we can get them working right. So that's looking right. Like, you know, we're transitioning off with the screen. See, why are we transitioning? Why are we going to an up transition? We're resetting our position here. I don't get why we're triggering another. Why are we triggering another transition? Okay. Really stumped. I don't know why we keep triggering this transition. So my idea was to kind of limit. Let's just go ahead and try it real quick. In our player state, we're doing this based on this very vague, if our X is bigger than the right side of the screen, go ahead and make it a right transition. But what if we tighten that window to be a little tiny sliver? And then if we you know, axis align back bounding box collide, we collide AABB collision with a sliver of the right side, that's going to be our shifting. And then hopefully if we do it to that, we wouldn't get an event dispatch over and over and over, depending on that weird location. So let's just try to do that. So let's try to do the AABB collision for each of these transitions. So we want to make sure our left side, that's what this X is, our left side is greater than whatever that left threshold is. But we also want to make sure that our right side, so our self dot, our self X plus our width, we want to make sure our right side is smaller than the left or the right side of that boundary. So the left side of the boundary is this, but maybe we want the right side of the boundary to just be the virtual width minus a self dot width so that gives us a 3 pixel detection for our right transition dispatch. Now our right side would be smaller than, let's just say our right side needs to be smaller than the virtual width, and our left side needs to be bigger than virtual width minus self dot width minus 3. Okay, so yeah, that gives us a 3 pixel buffer for that. So let's go ahead and do this next one. If our left side is smaller than our width plus 3, left transition, but we also want to make sure that our right side of us, so our self X plus our self dot width, would have to be bigger than, our right side of us would have to be bigger than self dot width. Meaning we'd have to be on the left side of the screen in that 3 pixel buffer. Just like we did smaller than virtual width up here. I think that might be right. I'm trying to imagine our X position would have to be smaller than the 3 pixels there, and then our right side would have to be bigger than our self-dot width. I think that's right. Okay, so up transition, our Y would have to be bigger than 3, and then our Y plus our height, so the bottom of us would have to be bigger than so the top of us needs to be smaller than that 3, and the bottom of us needs to be bigger than our self-dot height. And I think that's right. Because if the bottom of us is bigger than the 16 pixels, then we're below, but we'd also have to have our Y to be smaller than 3. So it should be in that 3 pixel zone. And then if the top of us is greater than our screen height limit minus our height minus our buffer, then the bottom of us and self.y plus our self.height would have to be smaller than the screen height limit, minus self.height. So the bottom of us would have to be higher than, I don't think that's right. I think it's just screen height limit. Top of us would be bigger than the screen height limit minus self.height minus that 3 pixels. Then the bottom of us would have to be bigger than or smaller than the screen height limit. I think that's right. So now with this more accurate detection for our transitions, maybe we'll stop transitioning all the time. Let's see. Now our transition is not tethered to the map anymore. Well, I guess up is. Oh shit me. Okay. Why? Yeah, why? I don't get why both is like staying with the map. Oh my god, dude. We're just getting worse and worse here. Why the diagonal? Why the diagonal? Oh my god. This is so tough. I feel like this isn't helping us. I feel like this is not helping us. I mean, we are able to initiate those transitions, so it probably does help us a little bit, maybe. See, but why was our X so different there? Our X position was so different there. Holy shit. Oh, well, we're overriding it here, so let's stop doing that. And then, yeah, we give it this 5 so that we don't accidentally hit that trigger. What we can also do, oh shit, I got an idea. Well, why is that so fucked up? Okay, I just don't want it to be shifting over and over. Damn it. Okay, I got another idea. Now we can go into the dispatch in our player class, and we could not we can do this based on the button press as well. So we can say if love.keyboard was pressed right, that can stop a lot of accidental dispatches too, because we need to check for that correct input. It's like we wouldn't initialize that unless we've got that correct keyboard input. So was pressed left for our left transition, and then I think this is a good idea too. Love.keyboard, because we don't want to be dispatching these all willy-nilly. We want it to be very intentional. Okay. Okay, almost done. We got to do this down transition. Was pressed. And you know what? We need to do is down, because if someone holds the direction and walks into the screen, we need to shift it. So we need to check for continuous input here. But here we go. We'll test this now, but we'll give us the is down instead. So we'll substitute was pressed with is down. And I canceled it. Substitute was pressed with is down. Okay. Let's try it. So we're just going to go for a right transition. We scroll way too fast because we're actually... oh my god, that was it. That was it. Now, okay, that wasn't it, but that wasn't bad. Why the drifting? Why the drifting like that? Okay, this is closer. This is closer. I don't get why we're drifting like that, but we're getting close. So what's happening, at least with the left and right transition, is we're tweening our value on the map that's also being scrolled. So I think if we draw our Kavoth outside of the map, we can still modify Kavoth's X position with the tweens, but it won't be double. So I think if we go to our scene and we take our Kavoth out, our render Kavoth, oh god, we moved it to map. Okay, so we take it out of our map, and let's say instead of rendering him here, let's render him in our play state and outside of our pop function for our love.graphics translate. So we'll do it here after our HUD, after our scene view. We'll just do it here. Now I'm hoping that helps with his position here. Yes, it's still off just a bit, but actually that makes a lot of sense. Yes, that's it. Level 2. Dude, that was clean. That was it. Because it would make sense it would be a little offset because it ends still on screen where the map needs to go off screen. So that's freaking perfect. Let's see left. Okay. And we can still do that, which I don't know if we should take out. Okay, so we need to fix our X position for a left scene transition. Let's work on that. So let's go to our scene. And we'll go to, actually it's in our player class. No it isn't. Where is it? It's in our event, our on event stuff. So event.on, which is in our scene. Yeah, okay. Okay, so if we're shifting to the left, this is our X to move. Okay, so this is our player X, which is where we move it. So like we'll put this where Kvoth ends up on screen. So what was messing up was when we went to the left, he ended up off screen, right? So that was right here. A left transition, it would be virtual player. Yeah, I feel like that would be right. Let me see. A left transition is a negative virtual width, which means that we would want to set our player's X tween to become virtual width minus player width minus this. It should be 5, I guess, instead of 10. And actually the buffer is actually 3 pixels. Oh no. But now that we've got that that button, oh, see, look, yeah, you shouldn't be able to move like that while you're transitioning. It's still off. So what are we doing? What are we doing here? Are we, oh yeah, we're setting, okay. So, see, why do we do this twice? We set a player X for the tween, and then we need to set it to be where we actually place him. Okay, so a shift left should be virtual width minus self dot player width minus R5. Okay, so that should get him to be the right spot. And we do want to not update Kvoth if we're shifting. Yes, so that looks right. Now it really is at that 3 pixel buffer. So I think what we want to do is make that a constant. So we'll give ourselves a Kvoth. What do we want to call it? Like an edge buffer. I don't know. Edge buffer for Kvoth is 3. We'll call it Kvoth because we'll have other entities, so we'll call it edge buffer Kvoth, and then we'll have to put this in every time we do this 3. Let me see. I know. See, look, we're shifting them by 3 all here. So all these 3s need to be this buffer 3, 3, and 3. So we'll just substitute those 3s. Substitute 3 with edge buffer both. Make sure there's no other 3s in there that we don't want to. What are you talking about? Okay. 3. Okay. Substitute 3 with edge buffer both. Okay. And then now that we've got that is in the scene view in our player state. We also want to do this edge buffer for our right here. So any time we're doing this is actually edge buffer both. That's hard to type fast. We'll just yank it and we'll put it here. Okay, and then we want it here as well. Okay, you know what? I need to really figure out these vim commands, because whenever you delete, it overwrites your paste buffer. So I keep deleting something, like right now, I deleted it. I think, oh, you know what? I think there is a, if I leader yank, then I can delete something and then leader paste it. That's not working. Well, I'll work on that. Shit. Okay. Okay, and then edge buffer both here, edge buffer both. Okay, now that we got that hard coded in, those should be a bit faster. Let's change our tween to be a bit faster, a little more game accurate. But also, before we do that, we want to make sure we don't update our Kavoth if our scene is shifting. So what we'll do is go to our play state, and we'll go to where we render. Not when we render, when we update. We want to see when we update Kavoth, and we want to say only update Kavoth if our scene is not updating or shifting. So if scene not shifting, go ahead and update Kavoth. And then we shouldn't be able to walk once we're transitioning now. So let's see that. So we're transitioning and I can't walk. Now, I guess the standing, oh my gosh, that's it, man. See, look, I would like it if it's that squat animation by default when we're walking, but see, and then our Y, okay, let's get our top and down figured out first, and then, oh, I gotta pee something out of me here in a sec. This is so close. We're getting there. We're getting there. If we get our Y and X working for our shift Y is what's getting messed up, I think. So like, what would be happening to get us to drift? We're not drifting here. Oh, what the fuck? Okay, up is definitely screwed up, and down is also definitely screwed up. We need to do this better. Our player Y, that's why... What? Oh, okay. Okay. Okay, so let's see up. Up is a negative virtual height on the shift Y, so that would be this one. This would be, let's just leave us a note here that this is shift up. And then this is a shift down. So we do two things. We change the player Y to be the value that we need to move Kavoth to so that we can tween it here with this variable. Then, after we're done shifting, we set our Y to be the appropriate position just in case something happens, I guess. Like we reset it. Yeah, I guess I'm a little confused why we do this after we finish shifting. I guess... I don't know. I guess we don't really need this. Let me see if this breaks our left and right, and if it doesn't break our left and right, we might be good to just leave it out. Let's see. Okay. Okay. It worked for right. It should work for left. Okay, we should be good leaving that out. I think that was just like a precaution I was doing, but we don't actually need that. And it's probably messing it up more than it's fixing, so let's do shift up. So if we initiate an up transition, we need to end up at the bottom of the screen. So that would be this one. Yeah, we just need to swap these two. So we need to yank this. Oopsie, and then put this one as our edge buffer Kavoth. And then I think our up and down will be working. Let's see. Let's go up. Yes, dude. Yes, yes, yes. Now the thing is, level 2 just appears. We don't want it to just appear. We want it to scroll on like what? Like how it's scrolling off. The next map needs to come on at the same time. So why Why is that not happening? And then why the drift? Why do we get a weird diagonal drift there? That was a left why would our Y? Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. We're not resetting. Why would we be doing that? We're drifting. We're setting our shift Y. Okay, I think we need to pass in. We might need to pass in not a 0 here, but our current Y. So self.player Y, so we don't shift on the Y like that. The left transition, shift Y. I think that makes sense. Well, I don't get why it would be doing that in the first place, why it would be rendering us at a different position, but the only thing I could think of is it would be that oh my god, what's going on? Let's try putting in our player.x here, because we don't want to shift. I think that'll screw everything up now that I'm thinking about it. Let's see. Yeah, that's our shift. Okay, so we're not shifting our Kavoth by shift Y. We're just translating them with the tweens. But why would that get... So let's undo all that. So how are we getting a diagonal move from him there? Now... it would be under... I don't know. The only thing I could think of is that we have a dx or a dy by the time we do it. So we might want to just reset our dx and dy to 0. But we shouldn't be updating him anyway. So that shouldn't actually make a difference either. So that was a left transition. Okay. So we need the screen to come up. We need this. See, look. Why that? Why that? Our camera Y. I'm very confused. Now, camera Y isn't what's messing our Kavoth image up. That's just the map. So what is causing our Kavoth to tweak out like that? Let me just try putting Kavoth render back in the scene and see what that might do. I think it'll move us twice as fast like it used to, but I want to see if we take us out of the play state here. Oh, we can keep that, but we get our render off from our play state. Okay, let's see. Yeah, so yeah, we go twice as fast here. So what are we messing up? Because we want... Oi, oi, oi. I don't know what to... It's... See, if we're given... Wow, that's so weird. If we get a diagonal dx by the transition, then we get a weird dx. Oh, God. So how do we fix that? If we go to our scene and we take off this render, let's see. I'm recording a macro again. Okay, so if we give it a diagonal input, right there, we didn't move diagonally, so that's good. If we give it a diagonal input here, we don't move diagonally, so that's good. Okay, now let's try this. It's on the left and right that we start messing up where we move Kavoth. And then now and then it just gets hard coded to that 5 or whatever that is. Well, maybe not. On the left transition, it goes to the right, and then on the right, it goes to the left. Okay, so where are we? We're telling it here in our scene. We're doing it based on this stuff. So it's not our camera X or Y that's causing our both to be weird. It's got to be our assignment for our player X and player Y. So like, it's messing up. It's going to this one. It's going to this one on the X on a left transition. Let me think. I don't get why we're not rendering our next map before it's on either. It's almost like do we need to give a player Y on... No. Okay, so our tween values, it's taking in our player, and it's modifying its X by our player X and its Y by our player Y. So when it messes up, what it's doing is it's moving moving our player X to be something it shouldn't be. So that, like, if we go down, if we trigger a down transition, it shouldn't mess with our X. So I wonder if we give our player X to be whatever our self.playerX is, it would stop shifting in those weird directions. Because we shouldn't change our X position. You know, this is effectively tweening it to the exact same value. I don't know why it would be changing, because we should only be triggering one of these at any given time. But this is the only thing I'm thinking of that might fix it. And if this fixes it, maybe we can diagnose it elsewhere. So what we're doing is we're just changing our tween values manually to be untouched if it is a transition that shouldn't be moving. Like a left transition shouldn't change our Y position. So we're just getting whatever our current self player Y was. So that should stop us from moving in a different direction. So, and I'm trying to walk in a weird direction so that it might trigger that problem again, but it's looking like we have stopped moving in that weird position. Okay, this is close. We still need to get the new map to render. We need to get the new map to render as this other map is going off. So why isn't that happening? Let's check out. First of all, let's look at our map render. All a map render is taking a map object and it's rendering every single one to its adjacent offset X. So what could be wrong is if we print up what our adjacent offset X is for our next map, which is part of our scene. So if we go to our scene, we can see that we've got a next map that starts as nil, and then once we transition, it'll get an adjacent offset X of the shift X. So I guess I'm curious, if we change this to just like a stupid value of like 5 or something, does it show up? Because it should. I guess, yeah, we still need to assign it, so we need it to be something. We can't just have it nil, otherwise it'll crash. But if we change it to just something like 0, 0, it should render the next map right away. And it doesn't. So what's happening here? Why are we not rendering the next map until we're done transitioning. So let's take a look, and it might be in the render here. Oh my god, we're not even rendering the next map. Not even freaking rendering the next map. Let's render the next map. Let's go back up here. We'll turn this off, and then we'll see if we're gonna celebrate by going to the bathroom. Let's see. Fuck. It changed the map, but it's not. Oh, you know what? It's not rendering it at the offset. Okay, so instead of fuck, man, fuck. It's so close. It's so close. We need to render this at the X offset, which should have proper values. Let's just print up what the next map, what the scene views dot next map dot X offset adjacent X offset is. Oh well, hold on. We did this incorrect, first of all. So let's give us the correct adjacent offset. First of all, try it again. Motherfucker. That's it. Level 1 to level 2, baby. Yes. Now it'll always be level 2, but we freaking got it. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, that makes sense that would be a little different. Okay, so because of the HUD there, it's not shifting this down to be a perfect match. So I'm not sure what to do to fix that actually just yet. It's like we need to adjust our adjacent offset to be minus whatever our buffer, our HUD buffer thing is. So if we go into our constants, we go to it's a 16. So it's a 16 for that HUD. So when we go into our adjacent offset initializations, I think we can start our Y at a negative 16. Well, where are we looking for? Let's do adjacent offset. And I think we want to initialize it here as a minus 16. And then if we do that, I think we might be in business. Okay, minus 16. Okay, well, that makes sense. But the top scroll is now flush, right? So we want our next map's adjacent offset to be minus 16. So we want to change this. We want this to be 0, but we want our next map's adjacent offset. So when we go to our scene and we get a next adjacent offset Y, we want to minus a 16, and maybe that'll be it. We render it good here, and we are doing too much in the wrong direction. We gotta plus a 16 to negate that, and now we move up and we get the perfect transition. Okay, why did that look weird? Okay, it's because the adjacent offset is all fucked. Okay, we're close. We're really close. What happens if we go this way? See our adjacent offset. Yeah, it's like we need to, when we render the next map, we need to just modify the adjacent offset there, I think. But we can't do that. Yeah, we can. What we can do is say, if there is a next map, then go ahead and change the next map's dot adjacent offset Y to be that 16. Let's see if that. So we would want to get whatever our current self.nextMap dot adjacent offset y plus that 16. Okay. Okay, so let's see if we render left and right correctly. Nope, we don't. Wow. And I think that's because it's setting it over and over and over and over. So that's not good. We're really close. We're really close. And we can't stop here. We're so close. Like, we've got left and right working. And we've almost got this working. So now it ends up in the right place. I think in our tween value we need to shift by our I don't know. I think when we're shifting our tween values for our next map, we need to negate this 16 pixels. Because instead of this map going all the way off the bottom of the screen, it needs to go all the way off to the bottom or to the top of this HUD down here. So I think it's something to do in our tween values when we do the here. What if, I'm kind of curious if we plus the 16 here, what'll happen? Oh, we tween by that. Not good. But yeah, this is not what I was wanting. So it's not in our tween values here. Maybe if maybe we change our offset y if it is a down or bottom transition. Now this would happen over and over and over again. So if we do this, it would be crazy, right? No? Okay, so maybe we can say get this, and we can say set it equal to what it was, but plus a 16 to it. I wish there was the plus equals operator in Lua. So left and right still works. We'll speed up the transition now that that's working. Holy shit, that's it. No, fuck. It almost worked. It worked going up. It made it flush going up. Oh, well, you know what? Yeah, then we just set it, we set it for going down as well. And see, okay, we need the minus 16 for going down. So what we'll do is find our plus, replace with minus. Okay. So down, yes, 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 yes. Okay, and then so we need to tween for a lesser amount of time, because we're not. Wow. Okay, so look, yeah. If you look at, there's 2 billiard balls on the left, and it doesn't stop at 2 billiard balls. Oh yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. Okay. So we just need to... We're scrolling one too far down here. So we need to minus... On the Y positions, we need to minus our player's Y. No, not our player Y. We need to... Oi, oi. We're so close. We're so close. Let's try to figure it out. Like, what's... Our adjacent offset Y is correct. but we are tweening too much before we finish shifting. So how do we say yeah, we're tweening too far. But the tween is the same time no matter what direction we initialize. So the value, I think we still need to change our adjacent offset y for our next map. But we're doing it if we're shifting. We need to change another thing here that says I don't know. We're very close. We're very close. Gosh, I'm stumped. So let's go a different approach than changing the y offset, because that's making a gap at the bottom by the time it's done shifting. So let's not do this exactly. We want to figure something else out. So we don't want to, actually, yeah, we do want to draw it differently. But what we really want to do is draw it. Let's see, if we don't set that, going down is fine, right? Oh no, it's got the gap. And going up has got the gap? Okay, they both got the gap. If we're shifting, god damn it, what do we want to do? Right here, if we're shifting, it's almost like we've got to, if we're shifting, change our offsets here. So we can say we're shifting, but we don't want it in every case. We only want it if we're shifting up or down. We would want to change this offset y. So maybe we just take if, oh my god, yeah, we don't want to do it here. So this gets rendering looking right until it ends, because it's skipping over that gap. Let me take a look. So they do a similar thing in the repo here. If we split and go over to our Zelda repo for CS50, we can see that in theirs they've got this other thing called map render offset. So when they assign their player X tween value, they offset it by this render offset. So we don't need an X render offset, we just need a render Y offset. And that's our 16 pixels for our HUD. So if we do something similar, when we assign our shift Y variables, which we almost did, but instead of adjusting our adjacent offset, we're gonna change our player. See, that doesn't help us though. Changing our player, do they set their adjacent offset based on that? Nope. I want to see where else they use this map render offset. Map render offset. They only use it for this, we're assigning the player's location, but that is the tween value that we're using to shift the map. Well, to shift, no, we're shifting the map by the camera, by the shift X. That doesn't affect the player. Okay. So where are they shifting? I guess I don't see where they're shifting the room by the render offset that they've got. If we saw where they did that, which might be in their room class, look at this. They've got this render offset X. This is what we need. We need a render offset X. And they render it based on this render offset X as well. Render offset X. Yeah. So they have this render we just need a render offset Y that in our map render we're going to be adjusting it by, but then we have to make sure we reset it to 0, or we reset it, they set it based on this. So when do they change? Do they ever change this value? Render offset. Because if we add that, it'll fuck up it'll still give us a gap there. They're rendering at we just want a render offset Y. So if we do it like they do it, let's just try it. Let's see what it does. We know it's 16, and we know we need to give it to our map class. So if we go into our map class and we say, did they see? I did it again. How do I? Oh my God. Okay. So yeah, it's a self render offset, and they give it at the beginning here as a constant. So how do we do it? How do we switch our tmux panes? How do we swap our tmux panes? I have no idea. I keep doing it by accident. It's driving me crazy. Okay. We're going to go to our constants. We're going to give ourselves this map render offset. So we're going to say map render offset Y, and ours is 16. So we're going to say that. We're going to go back into our map class, and we're going to initialize our self.render offset Y, render offset Y, as being this constant of map render offset Y. Then, just like they do, we look in their render function, their Y gets this render offset. And then is that it? They don't use it again. Now let's see in Dungeon if they use it again. And it doesn't look like they do. So let's try this, and we'll go to our here in our map render, and we'll get our map render to be adjacent offset plus our self.render offset Y. Now I think this will shift everything down one. Yeah. And that means this is still off. Oh, this is close. So is this, okay, so these are right. So it's almost like all we need to do to fix it now is shift. Oh no, because we still got the gap. Shit, we still got the gap. We didn't have the gap though. See, Okay, so the render offset Y is fucking everything up. Why? Because if we take out this render offset Y, and we take a look at what the problem is, it's the fact that the bottom, yeah, we're tweening our values based on this entire grid. So like if you look at the top of the grid where the two balls are now, they're going not to the bottom of the HUD, but they're going to beneath the bottom of the HUD. We want them to stop at the HUD. So how do we change that? Because we don't want, gosh, we're so close. Yeah, we don't want them to go to the bottom of the HUD. We want them to stop. Okay. So, okay. All we need to do is in our adjacent offset Y. We already tried this. If we go into our adjacent offset Y only when we're shifting. Yeah. And it's not, and you know what? Maybe we'll try modifying our current map by it too? No, it's just our next map that's wrong, because this is fine. Next map needs an adjacent offset Y of positive if we're going up, and negative if we're going down. So if we're going up, we need the positive offset by 16, and if we're going down, negative 16. So that gives us proper up rendering. But, oh, see, and then it goes too far. So why does it go 1 pixel too far? Not 1 pixel, one tile too far. It needs to stop right there, not there. And it needs to stop right there, not there. And then it'll be perfect. So the adjacent offset is looking good. It's just that how are we saying, yeah, it's like the shift Y. Okay, so if our shift Y, it's almost like if we're I'm curious if we just try to modify shift Y here by something weird. I want to see if it does anything until we're done shifting. I don't think it will. Until we're done shifting, it'll do something. I didn't even see it. Okay. So, well, that's because, okay. So we want our camera X to be modified by our shift X, and our shift X, okay, so that's what we need. We need our shift X to be modified, not our adjacent, well, and our adjacent offset. So we need our shift Y to get what it used to be, but minus 16 if we're shifting down, and plus 16 if we're shifting up. So our shift Y gets modified. But this gets messy because we're doing this in a condition. So shift Y gets current shift Y plus a 16, and then this will be gets current shift Y minus 16. Now this is going to mess everything up, no? Oh my god, that was it. But what about left and right? Oh my god. I didn't think that would do it. Oh, see, that was too far. Because our 9 balls should stop at the end. Let's see. 9 balls should be off. Oh my god. Is it right? Did we just do it? We just did it. Oh my god. I think we did it. Okay. Let me just in our map declarations, what we're going to do is give ourselves first for level 1, we're giving ourselves first billiard balls all around the corner so we can just visually see the first balls all on the outside. And then we'll just make sure change to first. This is huge, guys. This is the biggest. This was the thing I was most worried about in the game, really, is just getting this to work right. Everything else is like collision detection, and I mean, I know the rest of the game is hard, but since I've never done this before, this was what I was most worried about. Okay, so first level's got first balls all around. Second level's got second balls all around. And then we'll be able to see visually the levels and make sure that they're not scrolling too far accidentally or whatever. So we'll just go here and keep going. We'll just change everything here to second. So we're just giving ourselves an outline of balls that have the correct number for the corresponding level that we're trying to render. And then level 1's got all level 1 balls, and level 2 has got all level 2 balls on the borders. Oh, see, look, that went 1 too far. Did it not? Let's stop getting so much blue balls here on the second row. We'll change this to whatever. Oh my god, okay. Okay, first level, second level. Yes, dude, yes. Yes. Okay, now it's only level 2. We only got map 1 and 2, but tomorrow we'll be working on getting different maps so that the map we walk to is actually the corresponding map. I feel like this is going over 1 too far, but I don't think it is. It isn't. It's just... Okay, it's just because we got too many blue balls on the bottom right there, I think. Let me just change out these bottom 2 blue balls, and then we'll... This is... Oh god, this is huge. I'm not talking about the balls, I'm talking about the progress we got today. Okay. And we'll make sure every direction is working. Let's go ahead, and if we go to our scene, and we go to our tween, and we go change that to 1 second now. More game accurate. So like da 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 da. We're playing. Blah blah blah. Let's move down. Booyah. Yes, dude. Let's move back up. Booyah. Yes, dude. Yes. Let's try to trigger 2 directions. We'll try to... Oh! Did it really? I went diagonal down here, and it didn't render any map. Did you see? I can't do it again, but... I swear I did it where it didn't render a map. Dude, this is huge. This is fucking huge. Yes. 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 Dude. Yes. Oh my god. I'm stoked about this. So now that we've got this, the thing we do need to change, I feel like this should be a bit faster, maybe 0.8 or something. All time what it is in Link's Awakening, that's maybe a bit too fast, so maybe... Yeah, I think that's good. Like blah, 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 next scene. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, cool. That feels pretty good. That's awesome. Yes, yes, yes. So, we're on the verge of being able to make all of our, instead of our billiard balls, we build out our tile set with all the correct indices for, you know, corner tiles, edge tiles, grass, sand, stone, buildings, flowers, grass, tall grass, all that stuff. We give those tile IDs, which go here in our constants. We give our tile IDs whatever numbers, and we name them whatever we want to name them appropriately. And then in our map declarations, we just give ourselves the X and Y of all those sprites, and then the position of the grid that the map is on, and then we've got a whole freaking game worth of maps that we can traverse to. This is huge. Okay, so we need to say, you know, we'll hit here like, actually we'll do it in our notes. We'll go to our notes and we'll say, how many grids in master map table? Okay, and then we need to say, how many sprites in master sprite table, because we want to assign these numbers, and we don't want to be reassigning these numbers as we add more sprite sheets. So we kind of want to do a little bit of homework in that sense. And then what else? Let's see, we've got tally up. Okay, yeah. I did figure this out. Well, we didn't tally this up yet, so we'll leave it. We got this. Translate all images off screen when both walks off screen. We did that, so that's good. We don't need that. Accurate upon shifting finish. We did that, so that's good. We got all colors, renders player and scene class. Actually, are we doing that? We left that note yesterday, and then I think we ended up doing it. Do we render in scene class? No, we moved it to map class. Is it still in map class? No, it is not. We moved it somewhere. So I think we moved it to our play state. Yeah, we moved it to our play state. So I don't know if we want to change that. Okay. Okay. We did it, guys. We did it. Check it out. Level 1. We can go play around, scroll down level 2. We're pausing its animation. We're scrolling him correctly and the map off screen correctly. Yes, 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 yes. So now we just need to add more maps, and then we need to modify the shift X and Y to be appropriate for whatever map we're trying. Well, no, we need to assign the next map depending on what screen transition we initialized. So if we initialize the right transition, we need our next map to be our current maps column +1. If we move up, we need our current maps row -1. If we move down, we need our next map gets our current maps rows +1. If we move left, our current map needs to get our next map needs to get our current maps same row, column -1 for our left transition. But check that out. That's huge. Yes, 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 yes. That's a good day right there. That's a good day. So let's go ahead and just peek through a bunch of our states, and we'll just make sure we don't have any lingering comments that might get messy. I don't want this here anymore. I'm just going to tidy up our stuff just a bit. And we'll go in and add better comments here in a little while. I'm also probably going to redo our animation state so it works with multiple entities and stuff. But I don't know when I'm going to do that. I'm too excited to finish the maps and the sprites and stuff. I'll probably do that first. So maybe before we tackle new entities like bad guys, we'll go back and make sure that our animation is handled in the class instead of the play state, or instead of the player class. The player will like inherit an animation class, and we'll handle all the animation through that. Okay. Okay. We're doing good. Yeah, let's get rid of all this weird stuff. So we do need to initialize the next map appropriately. We do the next map right here. Okay, so this is where we need to assign the next map right here. We left ourselves a little note here. I'll put it over here so we can see it. Shit. Yeah, we'll put it right here. Fuck. I'm trying to just put it... Whatever. Okay. Okay. We don't need to set our current map. Our current map is already set. And it's set upon the init. We set our current map, and we also set our current map to be our next map upon finishing a transition, which is right here. We set our current map to be next map, and we got to leave that not hard-coded. We got to say assign correct next map. So determining what the next map is going to be will probably require putting in another parameter here, or it might just mean we do some simple arithmetic of our current row and whatever our transition is. And depending on what transition is, we say our map.row gets updated to be, -1 if we're shifting to a left transition. That would actually be a map column, but something like that. So I'm not too worried about that. We did a lot of good stuff today. So if we take a look, we've got level 1 with all these sprites, and then if we move off screen, we got level 2, and we're only doing level 2 because we only have 2 maps at the moment, but we'll figure out just what to populate these map declarations with now that our actual stuff is working. And then we just need those simple arithmetic to determine what map goes to what map, depending on where you start and what you transition to. So that's going to be good. Let's do our get diff here and see. We gave us the adjacent offset X and Y so that we could actually render our new map on the screen at the same time as our old map is leaving. We took out a bunch of commented stuff. We are limiting our event dispatches to a smaller box now. So if something goes wrong and our player X or Y position gets a little messed up, it hopefully won't trigger an animation it's not supposed to, especially because we added in the keyboard is down detection, or keyboard detection for this reset, so that you can only initialize a left transition if you're trying to walk left by holding left. You can only go right by holding right. So that should fix a lot of stuff, We fixed our begin shifting, and that's because we ended up actually shifting our We had to flip all those because we ended up switching it in our render by a negative camera X and a negative camera Y, just because that's how CS50 did it, and that's just how we ended up doing it. So we've got the proper player X and player Y values. We shouldn't have this hard-coded 5. Let's find this hard-coded 5 in our begin shifting function and try to fix that real quick. We shouldn't have that hard-coded 5. So in our, where is it? Scene? Begin shifting. Yeah, we shouldn't have this 5. Any 5 that's here should be our Caboth offset. Our edge buffer Caboth is what it is. So we'll go ahead and substitute every 5 with an edge buffer both here, and then we'll make sure that doesn't mess anything up. Okay, because yeah, it's the same value, it's just not hard-coded anymore. It's hard-coded as a constant now. So let's double check our get diff here, and then we might be ready to commit on our probably our best commit yet in terms of functionality. Okay, and then we set our scene to finish shifting. Holy crap! And then we're translating. See this negative math.floor for our camera X. That's why we had to swap all our logic. That's okay though. Then we render our current map and we render our next map if it exists. And then we changed our map declarations. We gave us a map render offset so that we can actually render our Ys appropriate for a up and down transition. So we did a lot, but mainly we added scene transitions with proper rendering. We'll just say that. We'll get push it. Thanks for watching, guys. This was a big episode. Now, I have a feeling it's really just Akabab in here, if he is. But my friend, Practical NPC, is doing a 24-hour stream to promote his Kickstarter game. Yeah, I thought so. So what I'm going to do is end my stream by rating his, because he's got a Kickstarter. He hit his $10,000 Kickstarter goal in an hour and a half today. So if you're interested in his game, it's a Celeste clone. It's more than that, but if you like Celeste, give it a check out. Get the game on Steam or on Kickstarter to support him. Anyways, thanks for watching. This was a good stream, and I'll send you over there. I guess it takes a couple seconds to get it working here, and then we'll stop the stream. But this was super fun. Thanks for watching. I'll be here tomorrow, and we'll get some more stuff done.